Hi, welcome to Upon Further Review or Deep Thoughts. Apparently
We might be changing the name.
We're between titles.
Yes.
Let's say
We're
that.
college students. We're indecisive.
Exactly. I'm Alex Ortiz for the Daily Illini with
Nick Fortin.
and a very special guest.
Jenny Lanzini.
There we go.
Jenny is also a reporter here at the DI, and so we're here this week to talk to you about some pretty serious issues. We usually try to not have the podcast be so
Down.
exactly, but I think it's an important topic to talk about. So, Nick, if you could please just start us off.
Do you want just like a basic overview of why we're talking about this?
What's on your mind?
What is on my mind?
Yes.
Well, just because of the fact that it's on every TV station, it's in every newspaper, it's everywhere, it's all consuming this topic of Ray Rice this week. On my mind is so many things that I'm not allowed to say
Right.
on air about Ray Rice and him as a person and all that good stuff, except not really good stuff. He's just a terrible, terrible human being. Honestly, what's on my mind right now with all the stuff that's breaking about Roger Goodell is that I have no faith in the NFL or its administrators, or Goodell for that matter, after seeing all the stuff about, potentially that he knew, potentially that there was, that the videotape had been sent in April.
Yeah, obviously a lot of conflicting narratives, and it's almost impossible to see the NFL side of it. As the NFL's kind of made a laughingstock of itself in recent weeks, trying to defend their position.
Oh God!
But obviously, after the second TMZ video of him actually punching his then fiance out, the conversation started to change, and now we're getting new pieces of information. And Jenny, it's just very disheartening from a fan's perspective, but. Obviously, what a lot of people in the discourse of this fail to realize is a lot of the more sensitive topics of it, especially when it's such a male-dominated profession, both football and the media. So, obviously from females, they are really needed to have a more open, more honest, and more responsible, really, conversation. Mm-hmm. So what's stood out to you in these past few weeks about what people have been talking about and what's been going on?
Well, first off, I think it's unfair to categorize from those incidents NFL as a whole to be discouraged by them. And second, I think what has really discouraged me the most is that Ray Rice wasn't released immediately after the first video. I think the first video is enough. I don't think you needed that second video to make that final kick. Mm-hmm. Given that, what disgusted me the most was that in that second video you saw him, after he had physically hurt her, he looked almost annoyed to have to pull her out of the elevator.
Yeah, he just stands over her. One, as if he's, like you said, annoyed that he's just knocked out his then fiance. And two, there's just almost no emotion in his face from what, from the aftermath, as if almost, and I'm just completely, shooting in the dark here, like as if he's done it before. Like it's a common occurrence.
Right.
Because there's no remorse, there's no, oh my God, what have I done? It's just kind of, he hits her and then, as you said, he drags her out of the elevator and is more preoccupied with grabbing her shoe from the elevator than he is checking if his fiance is okay.
Right, and I feel like rather than being discouraged in the NFL as a whole, I feel like I'm more discouraged in domestic violence issues.
I completely agree with that, but you have to, I guess, it's so hard not to go up the chain of command here and say that, well, one, the Ravens should have acted earlier. Right. I would like to applaud the Ravens for releasing him. Just, they didn't act early enough, but thank you for going the right direction with that.
That what was ultimately needed to be done was done, even though it took probably not the most desirable path.
And then the next thing was, Nike releases him from sponsorship, and Madden, which I thought was really cool, Madden takes him out of the game. He's no longer in the game. He's not on the Ravens. He's not a free agent. He's nowhere.
And suspended indefinitely by the NFL.
And he's suspended indefinitely from the NFL, which I think, honestly, was kind of covering their own butt,
Right, because, if I remember correctly, he would have been able to be reinstated under the original suspension.
On Friday. Tomorrow.
Which, by the way, we're taping this on a Thursday.
So, basically, since they were playing tonight, Thursday, he would have been able to be reinstated tomorrow and would have been back at, practice with the team.
Which is just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, especially because of the severity of the action.
So now, obviously the whole situation with the Rice family is tragic, and we just hope that they can kind of piece their lives back together. And they said they wanted to be the advocates for awareness about domestic abuse and violence, and but the NFL has also tried to improve their stance on it. And a few weeks ago, late last month, Roger Goodell sent that statement out about the much more severe penalties. 6 games after a first offense, and then much worse punishment after a second offense. There would also be other things about taking into account previous instances of domestic abuse before they were actually in the league. People very much were in favor of this, obviously, although it didn't change the situation with Ray Rice immediately. But of course, with these past few days' events, the conversation's changed somewhat. But what about the actual NFL image now? It's people say that this is the big black eye on Roger Goodell, especially in his tenure as the commissioner. I'm assuming you both would agree on that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think at this point too this isn't the first time that NFL has had like a bad thing happen to them.
A giant screw up during the Goodell
And
era.
I feel like people are literally just trying to look for someone to blame, and almost ignore the issue of domestic violence.
That's true, but I mean, I completely agree with you. We need to address domestic violence, first and foremost, because that is the issue at hand. That's the reason, people are going after Goodell, and they have now this investigation. But you also have to look at, what does the league do from now? What does the league do in the aftermath? Yeah. Because the league is honestly been looked at least in my eye, as, sort of like the NCAA, and the fact that they target the small offenses. They make a mountain out of a molehill for things like, not saying that smoking marijuana is a small thing,
or
or whatever they're suspending players for now. But really, you're going to suspend someone who is an avid marijuana user for more games than someone who cold cocked his wife in an elevator and then dragged her out unconscious.
Oh, I think, and I agree with you, but I think from their point of view and their defense, breaking a rule is breaking a rule.
That is very, very true.
And I think that they should equally distribute that.
Honestly, I think that I like the step in the right direction of 6 games after the first offense, and what is it, lifetime ban, I think, is after the second offense.
Indefinite, yeah.
But honestly, I mean, I know everyone deserves a second chance, or most people deserve a second chance, but if you're accused and found guilty of domestic violence against your, spouse, kid, whoever, whatever, you're gone, in my opinion. If I'm the commissioner of the NFL, you're gone. I don't want you in my league.
Another aspect of a really disturbing, frankly, aspect of this whole discussion is, frankly, the irresponsible, especially tweets, a lot of them that people have sent out, and a lot of social media can just reveal so much idiocy in today's society. But just so many things to look at. Jenny, we start with you. What has stood out to you about what other people have been saying, quite frankly, really rashly about this whole situation?
I think social media has a huge part of making things worse, but there is a side that's making it better. The hashtag #IfIStayed is going around, and it's showing that it's not as easy as it looks. Like, everyone is getting mad at her because they're like, why don't you just leave him? Why did you stay with him? And it's hard for us to rationalize that, rightfully so. But a lot of these #IfIStayed are showing reasons why people in those relationships did stay, and because they thought things were going to get better, or they thought it wasn't going to happen again. And people need to realize that before they start attacking, because attacking someone that is in that situation is not going to make it better.
Yeah, it's such a sensitive situation, and frankly, so many people have, especially the important people, have just really, for lack of a better term, fumbled the opportunity to do this in the correct way. For instance, going back to the initial investigation by the NFL, when they interviewed both Ray and Janae in the same room at the same time, obviously, I would think that the whole country has been educated that things like that are just not the way to go about this.
She's scared to death of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's obviously a lot of details we don't know, but there are definitely ways in which to go about it. And it has seemed that the NFL has become more educated, and hopefully the greater fan base and the country as a whole, because of this incident, which is the whole point of raising awareness. But still, you see some voices, some even prominent voices that haven't really gotten the message.
Yeah, I mean, going off of what you said, just Paul George and all of these people who are, who are backing up, Ray, or they're saying, that Janae is at fault here, and it's just, it's so, like you said, it's so, you see the, you see the idiotic nature of our society in the people that rashly tweet about, like, oh, I'm supporting Ray Rice, or oh, why wouldn't she leave him, or oh, like, you were saying, like, there's so much more to these stories that no one knows about, and it just so pisses me off that these prominent people, like you said, could have a positive impact on, on this issue, and instead, voice their opinion in the wrong way, let's say.
I think people don't want to face reality. I think they don't want to face reality that there is, like, an NFL player that is looked up to could do this. I think people that are closest to Ray Rice want to blame her because that's easiest.
No, yeah.
And I think that's the saddest part of it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think this is why sports is such a great thing to talk about, because you can reflect so much of real life on it. Yeah. And as a society, we have a lot of things to work on and a lot of things to learn, as does the NFL. So hopefully, going forward, this is going to be, obviously domestic violence won't be avoided. Hopefully it'll be, helped out in certain ways, but in terms of addressing it, it looks like that the NFL will do a much better job of handling very sensitive and very controversial situations. So we can hope.
Yes.
So we're going to say goodbye to Jenny for now. Thank you very much for the great insight.
Thank you for coming on.